After almost 1 minute of back and forth, she exclaimed, "Oh, just take a bite," and before I could react, she smashed the cake into my mouth. I spit it all out immediately and I had to grab a tissue from Frank so I could get any remnants out of my mouth immediately. It was disgusting and I was actually sputtering while rinsing my mouth, while Frank yelled at his mother. After half a minute, when I finally got over the shock of what she did, I came back to talk to Sharon and told her off. I yelled at her and said that what she did just now was psychotic and I was never going to come back here again because there was something very wrong with her. I also told her that just because I wasn't willing to have kids, didn't mean that she was going to treat me however she wanted to and I was going to take it. I didn't care about what her opinion was on whether I should have a child or not. What mattered was my opinion and Frank's opinion, and trying to force an allergy reaction just because I wasn't going to give her grandchildren was textbook psychotic behavior. I knew what her behavior was really about and I wanted to let her know that I wasn't intimidated by her in the least. She tried to defend herself and said that she just didn't know that my allergies were that serious. That was a total and blatant lie because she'd known me for almost 3 years now and had cooked many meals for me. She knew that I was allergic to all sorts of nuts and nobody was buying that excuse, that she didn't know. I told her that I didn't believe a word she was saying and called her a crazy liar. Then she lost her temper and said that she didn't believe me either, neither about the allergies nor about the fact that her son wasn't willing to have kids. Because he knew that she wanted to be a grandma and he would never deprive her of a joy like that. She accused me of faking my allergies for attention and said that I probably wasn't willing to have kids, and had turned her son against the idea as well, only because I might be infertile. And that pushed me to the edge, so I grabbed a chunk of cake from Frank's plate and smashed it on her face, and asked how she liked it. After that, I stormed out without waiting for anyone, got into my car, and thankfully, Frank was just behind me with my parents. They got in as well and we drove back home quietly. I dropped my parents at their place and then Frank and I headed home. It was a completely silent car ride and even after we got home, we didn't say anything to each other for an hour or so. I guess Frank was waiting for me to calm down before he came in and spoke to me. In the evening, he made me some coffee and we finally sat together in the living room and he brought up what had happened at the party. I started off by apologizing to him, even though it wasn't my fault, but I still felt embarrassed for acting the way I did. And he told me that it was fine because he knew that I wasn't the one to blame. He then went on to tell me that the people who'd stayed back at the party were the ones who filled him in on what happened after we left. Apparently, Sharon started crying after Frank walked out and chose to follow me instead of staying back to see her. She was playing the victim and her family was lapping it all up, calling me the most derogatory names in the book and accusing me of trying to take Frank away from her. The only one who called her out on her BS was Ben, surprisingly. Since he usually tended to stay away from family drama, especially when it involved his wife. But this time he stood up for us and told Sharon that she had nobody else to blame but herself for Frank walking out on her. Because she'd always been a control freak and couldn't stand it whenever somebody tried to do anything that didn't align with her plans. They got into a bad fight and everybody just waited around awkwardly, while they argued with each other.